Hello, and welcome to another edition of Maximum Growth Live. I'm one of your hosts, Jay Ruane, CEO of FirmFlex, your social media marketing agency for lawyers, as well as managing partner of Ruane Attorneys, a civil rights and criminal defense firm here in Connecticut. With me, as always, my man, Seth Price. Seth down there in DC, new backdrop today. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a moment. Seth is the managing partner of Price Benowitz, your DC, Maryland, Virginia, New York, and South Carolina law firm, as well as one of the founders of Blue Shark Digital, your SEO for law firms. Seth, here's the topic that I want to talk about today, and you can explain why you are in the position that you are in. We're going to talk a little bit about video. We teased it last week, and a plan for video. So tell us why you're in a different location today.
Well, I'm at the office in the conference room, and our videographer Devin is shooting up a video as he now does several days a week. We are sort of, historically, our deal with video. I've always been an SEO guy, and we want to get the pages optimized. We needed video, but we would always do a shoot. It was supposed to be once a quarter, that began every 6 months, might be once a year, where you would add content. And there were points over the years where video became very important. There was a point where Google was pushing video so hard that a single video could win in the web results just by putting it up there and tagging it properly. And like most things, they balanced it out and realized, hey, this isn't necessarily a good answer, but it's certainly a component. So at your urging others people, we have made the investment. We have this rock star Devin, who rather than dabbling and rather than just have somebody come in once a quarter or every 6 months, is here on a regular basis to be able to not only shoot the projects that we have for sort of what I'll call the emotive videos, but the FAQs, creating some commercials so that we can run some of this cheap paid social from a branding point of view, as well as, God willing, starting to sort of see, can we take advantage of the Reels and TikToks and the eyeballs that are there? So that is the working plan for an older, stodgier person who loves being at the top of Google, wants to be there, and that video's always been an add-on, not primary. Great to be putting those resources and seeing where that goes.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we all have had our experiences with the crisp product, and I think there's a place in the market for those types of videos. The highly produced, emotive videos, I think, do resonate with a lot of people. But I think there's a whole video plan that you can have going forward. I mean, we've added, we're actually now looking for a full-time editor. We've got our videographer, photographer, who's been with us since, I want to say, June. And we currently, as of today, have 500 videos ready to be produced, ready to be edited. And we have so much content that we want to get done that one person really can't handle it anymore. I went from having, no video to having me shoot it, edit it, and get it online, to now having somebody who's saying, stop with the videos, you guys are overwhelming me, or give me another team member. And so now we're looking overseas to see if we can add somebody. We had done some of the services like Video Husky or VidPros that are out there that turn things over overnight. And they were great. I mean, I did my, I don't know if you remember, a couple of years ago, I think it's summer of 2019, I had some interns, and they did the donut tour in the Mr. Speeding Ticket car, and that got tons of views. I mean, hundreds of thousands of views at this point. In fact, I just spent some time with those interns this past weekend. They were up from the South, and it showed me that there's some viable video projects that you can do. But I want to go through with you, sort of, if you were to add video to your office, it can get overwhelming. So what would you say should be somebody's attack point? And then I'll go through mine and tell you where I think you can make way with video.
And I think, like many things right now, I feel like we are doing our catch up. Where are the holes and updates for things that we've needed in the past? What I'm excited about, and again, I don't think it always has to be high quality video. Something that Devin and I even talk about, that we're producing this for many people watching on phones. Mm-hmm. The overproduced, what I've seen Jersey Boys do and other people, really compelling content that's not super fancy. It's just consistent and with either a brand or a personality running throughout it. So this, I'm humble enough to know that this is an area that is constantly evolving. The people on the cutting edge say, what should you do is have somebody, because it's, I think, a collaborative process, and it's not, I don't pretend to have all the answers. We're going to throw a lot of spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah. So I think, I agree with you. You gotta take some chances. You gotta do some things. There's a lot of, I see a lot of lawyers in our space starting to dip their toe into video and doing different things, food reviews and that type of thing. What I think you really need to do in these situations is really give the viewers a reason to watch you, other than your glistening personality, because, I love the idea that video makes us seem approachable, much more so than static images do. Certainly much more so than popular culture doesn't really make lawyers approachable people. And so video is really a great way to sort of make that connection. Obviously using video on social is great. I'm really bullish right now on YouTube, unskippable pre-roll ads. I mean, I talk to my cousins with their kids and other parents in the neighborhood, and and even my kids. They're on YouTube constantly, man.
It's unbelievable.
It's back when our parents were where we are now, it was CBS, the Tiffany Network. Everybody watched CBS, and that was it. Now it's YouTube. Everybody watches YouTube. Nobody watches anything else. Their first look is, can I watch it on YouTube? I mean, Google has a hell of a property there. And so one of the great things that you can do is actually grab those eyeballs and target your audience with unskippable ads. So they gotta watch you before they get to whatever it is that they want to.
And let me ask you a question. So we're using this since we're sitting here mapping this stuff out. What do you think are the most effective uses for those unskippable ads? Is it branding?
Pure branding.
Pure branding.
It's hammering brand over and over again. Now, one of the cool things that you can do in AdWords, because a sponsored YouTube ad, whether it's 6 seconds, 15 seconds, or the longer versions of them, they are all done within the AdWords interface. And it takes a little while to figure out how to do it. Maybe one of these days I'll put together a process on how you could do it pretty easily. I know in my systems group, I have a walkthrough video on how to set up the 6 second unskippable ones. So if you aren't part of that group yet, people join up over there. But so really, the cool thing about that is you can actually do an ad sequence in AdWords where they see certain videos in a certain order, which is great for really developing your brand. And I guarantee you've been subjected to this already by some other major brands that are out there. There's no reason why you can't do the same thing if you have a compelling story that you want to tell people over multiple ads. But for me, one of the greatest responses that we've gotten is just these 6 second brand out videos, because people are responding to it. I have one where we have actors and actresses who just said the brand name for my speeding ticket brand like 15 times in 6 seconds. And it's amazing how many comments people are like, I can't get it out of my head. And they might be haters, but the fact is they're remembering it. I know that's not the brand that everybody wants to have, but you could do something as simple as a car crash and then your logo and name and someone saying who you are, and that's it. And just show that in 6 seconds. I put one together for some friends. And then you could do some longer stuff. We had some inspirational stuff for our pardons practice, 15-second pre-roll that really works, and it's unskippable. And I mean,
what do you think about testimonials?
So here's the thing with testimonials. It's very tough to do testimonials in under 15 seconds because you sort of need a setup for why people are talking. They really tend to lend themselves better to long form things where it's a 30-second testimonial because you can get the context of the relationship. I mean, you can put up very quickly on a 6 second or a 15-second, a whole bunch of Google reviews and have somebody voice the Google reviews. That would be a very simple to edit and put together video. And you know what? I'm going to try that this weekend. I'm going to put something together so we have that running, and I'll let you know what our response rate is to that. So That's certainly one thing that you can do.
So
But until they know
just,
until they know your brand, what your reviews are really don't matter to them.
well, in one sense, but unless you're just hitting it over and over again, and it's unusual. I just thought of one. I don't know if this is what you meant, but like somebody sitting there and reading the reviews that have been left as sort of a way of taking this from, you have these static reviews. How do you make them come to life? In a perfect world, you have somebody sitting in the office, right? But right now we don't have people coming to the office. So, I'm watching what some of these marketers, big funnel marketers are doing. And, when you go to determine, are you going to hire them? They have 40 different testimonials on their site. Is that a good touch point where you're killing somebody with so many good positive testimonials? That's one way of going. The other thing that I'm just curious to get your thoughts on, retargeting. I know it's getting harder, and we may or may not have it, especially within the legal space. But there, I saw one guy really impressive on the marketing side pushing a retargeting program, but it was really just basically find every different opportunity for retargeting and put your stuff there. We always push people to retarget, but want to get your thoughts on sort of taking that to another level.
Oh, so that's actually a very active component of our social advertising. I've been doing it now for about 3 years, and it's highly effective. We have video carousel ads, where we have videos of a few people who've given us reviews. And so if you hit our website, and depending on the silo of our website, if it's criminal defense, if it's injury, if it's pardons, if it's, or if it's DUI, depending on the silo that you're in, we've got enough short video clips that after you've been on that silo, we can then target people who've been on that silo and show them an ad that is an ad for reviews.
Right.
And so
it's specific.
So if you've been on my site and you look for me as a DUI lawyer, tomorrow on Facebook, you're going to see a carousel ad that's got either, we have A/B tested, so either a video or multiple videos in the carousel of people leaving reviews of how we've done for them, or just a picture of our Google review. And it's surprising how many people actually will scroll through all of those videos. It's like 83% get to the very end. We do 5 or 6, and then there's an end card where you can get back to the website. Retargeting with reviews is a huge thing that we do. It's actually part of the process that we do in the FirmFlex Facebook funnel plan that we put up for people. Is we actually will set up a reviews retargeting campaign and also make it part of your funnel. So that's that's highly effective. And one of the great things is when you are doing the stuff for the 6-second or the 15 or even the 30-second stuff, you should be capturing B-roll that you could then use to make those longer form videos that may not necessarily be viewed by a lot of people, but can make the difference, in somebody who might be close, and they can really get a sense of who you are and how you guys operate. That's, so I say start small rather than getting into the package. And I know some people say, well, Chris says this, and I appreciate their product, but instead of going for the 30-second or 1 minute gangbusters emotive thing, I say, let's start small. Let's get the small things going and then increase from there, because I think you can get better bang for your buck just hammering brand, and you can target different locations.
And
you want to start
right. And I'm torn. Like, brand is great. Gary Vee says brand, but like, you could piss away a lot of money and not see ROI. And the question is, when are you over a hump where it means something versus, and again, I have a percentage of budget that goes towards it. So it's not like I don't do it. I'm just sort of skeptical that if you're not a big TV player where the brand means something in town, you as a criminal lawyer, it's a pull and tug. I see this whether I look marketing for Blue Shark or for the firm. There are 2 different types of Facebook ads, right? There's just branding ones and there's direct response. Right. It's very hard for us to show any sort of ROI from pure branding ones. Not that we don't do it, but
here's a response to that. So I run a branding play in my hometown as just a hometown lawyer. Don't mention that I'm a criminal defense lawyer at all if you know me, and my hometown has, the small town I live in has about 36,000 people that live in the town. So I'm running that play every day. I've been running it now for a few years, and it's 6 seconds, me smiling at my desk, and it says Trumbull's hometown lawyer. This week alone, it's midday on Thursday. This week alone, I had 5 calls for divorces. I don't do divorces, but I now have 5 divorce lawyers that like me this week because I made 5 referrals, and that helps my criminal business grow.
No argument.
And my spend this week on that hometown video ad was, I think, a total of like $12.
Right.
That's the whole week. So I didn't necessarily profit right away, but my brand is growing, and that's what I want. I want to be ubiquitous, and so I'm going to start to expand that out because the town I live in is next to the town my office is in, and I'm doing the same thing in my office. And now this coming January, we're going to the next town over in each direction to try to make those concentric circles grow. And so I just want to keep building and building and building my brand. And ideally, one of my partners, he's 2 towns away. We're doing the same play for him in his town. And then we're going to sort of try to glom in together and be geographically regional and then move from there. So there's a plan to this. But we're talking, 1,000 views for $10. I mean, we're spending a penny a view. So it's not expensive in the grand scheme. It's not like we're spending huge amounts of money. You can get valuable eyeballs and valuable brand impressions for under $100 a month, or even less probably, depending on the size of your town or your county that you want to be in. And then obviously the more you do. The more you do,
for a second.
Faster it happens.
You're talking your brand. One of the things you talked about on prior shows about was stepping out of day to day. It's been a couple days in. How is it going?
We've had our best 3 revenue weeks we've had since COVID hit. We've strung together, and I know I've said it in other forums. We call a purple week is when we beat year over year the same revenue that we generated in the same week, and we've done that 3 weeks in a row. The week isn't even over yet this week, and we've already done that. And we've got leads lined up for next week already. Let's say they're going to come in, and we could go 4 weeks in a row. Knock on whatever wood I can find. So, getting out of my own way is a big deal. In fact, I had a lunch today with our chief operating officer about some changes that he wants to make, and I'm 100% behind that because, by getting out of the way and being able to focus on the things that only I can do, I've been able to make some tweaks and changes, and I have some experience and some knowledge in the Google ad space and the social ad space, and so I can take flyers now because I have the time and bandwidth to devote to them. Michael Gerber would be very excited. Yeah, so I'm really in a really good place, and so that brings me up to the question that I want to pose to you. And I know what I've done and where I'm going with this, but do you have plans to stop anything? Everyone always talks about what I'm going to do in the next year, but I think it's a better thing to think of what can you stop in the coming year to make your business better? Do you have any thought on that? Because
I'll tell you one that I need to work on, and I've seen it very clearly at Blue Shark, is I need to which I've done at Blue Shark, and I need to figure it out here, as you're saying, is getting myself out of the weeds. Something that I have noticed is that as I have aged, my ability to relate to non-management has been harder and harder. I'm not particularly good at it. The patience is thinner, and in this current environment, for a lot of reasons, not a recipe for success. So to me, I want to have less to do, not just with day to day, but with anything granular. And again, we're moving in the same direction. It's allowing your team to do things, but it's not panacea. I'm going to give you some good news, bad news. Last Monday, we did a virtual holiday party for our international team. Awesome. I didn't know about it till an hour and a half before. There was an email out to the firm, don't get me wrong, an unapproved firm-wide email by somebody, didn't follow the chain of command, person in charge was on vacation. So it goes out, so it got done. It was fine. It wasn't the greatest thing ever. It was an amazing talent from America's Got Talent for like $800. We had a guy who would appear at America's Got Talent, put on a great show, but that extra piece where you might have some sort of activity beyond the show was very much, hey, what's going on, in Peru. It was very lackadaisical. It was not well structured, but you know what? We got it done. So it was imperfect. I got out of the way. It wasn't really what I would want. It wasn't excellence. And so it's frustrating. Am I okay with something that got done? It was fine. One of our administrative staff stepped up and was a nice MC and did a decent job, but it was odd messaging to the firm. Did non-virtual people, were they supposed to be there? Were they not supposed to be there? First thing. So it went out with something that had, as my kids would say, some cringe factor on it. It was successful. I was out. I didn't have anything to do with it, but how much cringe slash imprecision slash not the way you would want it done are you willing to give up, because it's going to happen? And how do you balance that?
Yeah, that's a really, really tough question. As your firm grows, it's still a piece of you, because I mean, at the end of the day, it's your name's the first name on the door, and you sign all the checks on the front, Seth. So it's price, Benowitz, and you have a certain level of that you expect production value wise and that type of thing. And I think if it was, Acme Corporation, you wouldn't have the same necessary sort of, I don't know how to say it. You'd be more tolerable for something that's less than, when it's not your name on the front door.
And there are things like our firm holiday party, things that were done one way in the past that had a reason. I'm a big fan of not having people sitting in chairs all night, but milling around, not putting enough tables and chairs for everybody, but people have their food and they continue to be social. Should I care about that? Is that part of the fabric of the firm, or am I turning that over to an administrator? I love this woman. This woman who's here is great. I hope she stays for, you don't know how, we're still in the honeymoon period. How much should I be giving, saying, hey, this is how we do it, or this is how we've done in the past, and add your stuff to it? I'm trying to give some freedom. She moved from a DJ to an acoustic band. She likes the guys. I'm like, nothing ventured, nothing gained. But how much should you continue to have a thumbprint from a man, like even from a discussion point of view from up here, and how much you saying, hey, do it any way you want? You're so good with systems. In theory, if I was better, she might be able to pull something out and said, hey, we had 6 tables of 8 seats each, and we ordered, I always say order 75 or 80 cents on the dollar for the number of people you're coming, for numbers because of last minute cancellation. There are all these things that sort of I have in my head. How much of this should I be like, it's going to cost me 20% more, let her do it any way she wants? Or, and that's sort of the struggle. I've definitely pulled back and I have a person, but I'm not fully out of the weeds.
So this is a really good question, because this is the type of thing that the person who is designated to do the work that you're no longer doing, I think what they need to do is they need to have a 5 to 10 minute conversation with you. What's your vision? And are there decisions that you've made in the past that matter to you now? And you might say, yeah, we had a band once, and 2 of the guys in the band got drunk and they couldn't do it. So I will always only go DJ, right? Now, then she might say, well, I think I can trust this band, and I'm willing to plant my flag here and go with it. And then you say, fine, but know that I always did DJ for this reason, or I always picked a venue like this because we have X number of people that are vegan, and we always made sure that we had a vegan caterer. You may not know that, how many, you may just be thinking, oh, I got to get people in. It's sort of like that whole wedding planner thing. The wedding planner comes in and sits down with you, and they say, what's your vision for your wedding? And then let's get you as close to that, because like and I do, when you read a book and then see a movie, right? You always say the book is better. And you say the book is better because you saw the book in your head as you were reading, and what you're seeing on film is what was in somebody else's head, right? And so there's a natural bias to what you thought in your head as being better, but it may have actually been better on screen than what you were able to produce with your limited imagination. So, but what I think the person who's executing it needs to do is to try to spend some time and get into your head, no matter what the project is. Hey, I want to, we need to hire some people on to work a couple of events for us. Okay, tell me what you see as the person, and get that and have that conversation. Because if you're not doing that, and it's something that you really should be thinking, about anytime you're delegating everything in your office, what do you try to have that conversation? Here's my vision. And it's like what we talk to a lot of people about with vision. I got very granular 10, 12 years ago about my vision for my firm. And it was really more about a vision for my life and what I wanted to be able to do with my time. And so now I was able to build to get to that. A lot of people are reticent or downright opposed to actually committing to writing what their vision is because it changes every week. I want to have big cases. I want to have a steady stream of cases. I want to take 3 months off every summer. I love trying cases. Look, if you love trying cases, you can't plan to take three months off every summer because that takes away 75% of your ability to try cases. So yeah, you have to be honest with yourself and define the vision, I think, and that's part of the conversation that you have.
I think that this is a longer conversation, just as video is, but I feel like, it's one thing to try to pull yourself out of the weeds. It's a question of what are it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. When you find out, hey, you're doing a virtual happy hour and your own firm administrator doesn't really know what's going on with it, that's a scary moment. Now, did it really matter? No, it went off, but it's fine unless it's not fine. And so how much of, you look at people who are like, I want to take a 2-month sabbatical and not be there. A lot of the coaches out there that have larger scale followings talk about you should be able to take this. That was a number of years ago. This was their big mantra, 6-8 weeks out of the office and nobody should bother you. I'm not sure that's a good, to me, I don't have as much freedom, but I would rather somebody check in and make sure that top line things are there because you have a better chance of stuff when you come back being that people are rowing in the direction you want them in, because it doesn't take a lot to go off course.
No, it really doesn't. It really doesn't. No matter how systemized you are, there's always that opportunity when people view things differently and see things differently, that they can make decisions in your absence that really take you off course really quickly. Here's a question I have for you, and this came up recently. I forget what I was watching online, but we talk about risk. And I want to end with this because this segment might go like 5 or 6 minutes, so I don't want to go over too long. But this will be the last segment of the show today, folks. And we talk about risk, but you and I are not really in a risky position anymore, I don't think. And yes, there was some risk with coronavirus and everything like that, but we had systems and operations that were able to churn our way through it, and we got through it. And yes, there was revenue decline, but we're smart enough to figure out where it's going. And this comes about with people expecting raises and people wanting to be partners and that type of thing, and how you compensate people. And you say, well, I deserve the most compensation in the office because I have all the risk. But really, at the end of the day, what risk do I have anymore? I mean, yes, I'm on a lease. Okay, I'm on a lease, so I have a $500,000 to $1 million worth of exposure on that lease. But I've got the employees in place, I've got the marketing in place, and we are generating a certain amount of incoming cases every week that is seemingly growing. I hope it to grow more in 2022. But it's not the same as when I hung my shingle 20 years ago, when I was going out on a wing and a prayer with no staff, with no revenue to be able to do it. And I'm wondering, does there come a point where the argument, hey, I'm the partner here and I have all the risk, gets lost because my business is functioning pretty well and there's no more risk for me. So now is it
time out. I'm not buying any of this. First, on the plaintiff side, massive risk. You're laying out money, courts may be closed, laws may change, you may get shot down, huge risk. Ryan McKean sits there, he's rolling, he's doing great, massive risk there. I see the same thing. Now look, it's Are you going to be going under today or tomorrow? No, you took one of the biggest hits you could. Hopefully this next variant doesn't make it worse. But like, I'm not buying this, that like the risk of employees doing crazy stuff that you get sued for, malpractice. We had a guy, I don't want to get into too many details, completely go off reservation. And, you know, it looks like maybe one lawsuit out of it. Is it like a catastrophic lawsuit? No, there's insurance, it'll be taken care of. But like, there's risk at every turn. So to sort of try, like, have you minimized it over time by having systems, by building things, by having a track record, by like upgrading your marketing? Like, there are all these things that you're doing that are positive. But that said, I think you are in, like, it is an emotional roller coaster. I go through it on a daily basis. I think I'm doing great. Google just had some sort of bizarre local algorithm update. When you're crushing it and anything changes with the algorithm, you're going to be doing a percentage less well. Like, you know, we staffed up. We have excess bandwidth in our plaintiff's practice right now. I've never been there. I've always been the opposite. So now the question, can I get enough good new cases in to fill that beast so that I can sustain that? And I keep hearing in the back of my mind, John Morgan, grow or die. You know, so and that's scary because I'm pretty big. So more growth, more things. Again, we made smart choices. We sort of curtailed some of our lease obligations during COVID. We did the things we could, but to say that you're not there with risk, I don't buy.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I guess maybe I'm not appreciating all the risk because I'm looking at, you know,
I don't want to freak you out here.
No, but my risk assessment is different. I mean, there's a risk from leaving my job in the spring of 2000, where I had low income, but it was guaranteed, versus hanging a shingle and having nothing there and literally surviving off of free beer and nachos at a local bar where I knew the bartender. Right. You know, now, you know, I know my business is going to generate X number of dollars every week. I know even if I have a rough week, you know, and I keep a spreadsheet of my weekly revenue.
You live differently. I mean, every Monday we're starting from scratch, as you are. And again, I'm not trying to I don't want to change your mindset, but like, that's risk. That, like, look, we're seeing stuff. You want risk? You want to sleep less well? Political changes. As we've seen elections go differently, as people say, enough of these crazy prosecutors that are throwing the book at everybody and filling up the jails for for-profit organizations. Like, when that happens, your revenue goes down, not insubstantial. So like, risk minute to minute.
Look, I mean, I had a huge expungement and pardons practice that was just legislated away from me. It generated $1 million a year. And the only people now that will have to get pardoned are going to be sex offenders and wife beaters.
Right. So Mr. Pardon goes from
Mr. Pardons is gone.
Well, let me ask you a question. You got the reviews, you got some gravitas. What can we morph that into? What can that brand, I mean, you push into your regular thing, but is there something, this is your homework for next week, is there something, a widget that just like that could become another replicable SKU at a low dollar, high volume?
So what we did do is we actually rebranded it as the firm name and opened a new office with that. So now that new office opened up with 150 5-star reviews, and now we've added on another 30 of them. So they're not saying all pardon in the first 30.
Understood. So, and look, it's part of your practice still. So it's not, you know, there's a common theme to it. So anyway, look, I love this. I don't want to make you drive you crazy. I'm glad that you can sleep at night knowing no risk, and I sleep well. Don't get me wrong, but I spent my morning catching up with Lee Rosen, who's in Bangkok. And this is a guy who had zero risk, right? He had no debt, he had no employees, he had no assets. He had one shared conference room in an entire state running an 11, 12 person practice. Like, there are ways to mitigate it. You and I always joke with him, like, I love you, I love what you write, I love your whole philosophy, and I follow none of it. So, and we have a joke, but you know, I feel that some of that is psychological and it goes up and down on a minute to minute basis.
Oh, it absolutely does. But I mean, maybe I'm just feeling it that coming out of Corona as much as we have. I mean, we're on our way back. Who knows what the next, I mean, there's going to be more and more variants that are going to come out.
I got to say, you see White House stopping, you know, parties. You see UK talking about restaurants being, I mean, like, we got a mitzvah coming up in the end of the first quarter. And, you know, if I was a gambling man, I wouldn't put 100 cents on the dollar. It's going to happen in person.
Well, so this weekend is my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. and all of their siblings were coming in from all over the country to have a dinner. It was going to be small. It was only going to be about 25 of us, siblings and their spouses. And in the last 24 hours, they've all decided we're not traveling because they're all over 70, some over 80, and they're not going to take a chance with the latest variant. And it's just, it's sad for my parents. We're going to set up and do Zooms so that they can sort of be there. But it is what it is, it's the world we live in now, and you kind of have to just address it and move on. So that's the life that we live now.
Well, to be continued, but this
Yes.
this is awesome.
All right, this was great. So Seth, that's going to leave it for us today here on Maximum Growth Live. Of course, you can always follow us on our own podcast if you haven't caught the live show or you want to take us on the go. Just look for Maximum Growth Live wherever podcasts can be downloaded. Of course, if you want to stay up with Seth, you can follow his SEO Insider. He is available.
News.
Oh,
Big news.
right.
We are taking second season. We're going to make it the Law Firm Insider so that we can sort of bring some additional, still have the SEO geeks, but there's some people that want to go beyond SEO.
I love that. I love that. So pay attention, be one of the inaugural watches of the Law Firm Insider. And of course, if you want to stick with me, please join my Systemizing Your Law Firm for Growth Facebook group, where I put out a whole bunch of systems. I've got a whole bunch that I'm going to release over the next couple of weeks, all about how to run your household. I know we talk about growing your law firm, but I was able to find a resource online that was really quite good, all about how to run your household, what to be doing monthly, what to be doing quarterly. So it's going to be a system to keep your house in tip-top shape as well. So please join us there. And of course, you can always find us here every week live Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific on your social platforms. But for that, I'm going to say bye, Seth. I'll see you next week. For me, Jay Ruane, have a great one, folks. We'll see you next week on another edition of Maximum Growth Live. Bye for now.